Travis wouldn't get so. So things escalated since the last video I did. So we'll get a video out here. Now, YouTube is an informal video posting from me. Having deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, I need to know my audience so that I don't overwhelm them with technical high words, big words, bigly, so that people can understand. And just like MAGA trying to own the libtards, they force a false dichotomy to try to prove to people that because the libtards are wrong, therefore MAGA is right. That's a false dichotomy fallacy. There's other options. And so the Mormons pull the same thing to Expo Nevermos, claiming all sorts of fallacious arguments to prove that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is true. Again, false dichotomy fallacy. And so all these years, my videos have demonstrated the gifts of prophet, seer, revelator, and translator, but nobody sees it. Mormons don't see it because they have Christianity with non-Trinitarian Jesus. Expo Nevermos don't see it because they can't accept that it's Jewish, because that means the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints could be true? No! Dear God. False dichotomy. Pull yourself out. Learn to use science. Use logical Socratic methodology to develop theories from your research. And have them tested. You gotta have them tested. If you go around claiming, well, if we had the brass plates or the gold plates, not golden, are you illiterate? Are you trying to preserve your faith bubble, saying that golden is easier to lift than gold? You get led astray and deceived by this church, even if you've left this church, by continuing to believe, as Mormons believe, that Joseph Smith was responsible for everything, but using doubt promotion rather than faith promotion. You're all deceived by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, I had two people commenting. One was on YouTube, the other was on Academia. And so the Academia one was a little more professional, whereas the one on YouTube, ban. It illustrates differences in Mormon thinking. They were both Mormon. The YouTube guy was an ass, whereas the guy on Academia was a little more serious. He genuinely wanted to know and understand. So, before we get in to at least the Academia one, 3.9K videos as of this morning when I checked. Or was it last night? Could have been last night. And then in the news, which I'm still banned from watching videos signed in on my channel. I'm a religious person, religious leader even, doing religious subject videos, but because they go against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because they're lying and deceiving us and committing crimes and abominations and are involved in the overthrow of our government to get their kingdom back, Mormons would rather commit crime to protect the church than to admit the obvious and have honor and integrity and leave. And, dear God, why is there not mass protesting to get the church to stop, to shut them all down and dissolve them? The SEC violation? Dear God, that was just a small little thing which had to do with Russia. Orrin Hatch. Dear God. So, I saw when it's time to change, you've got to rearrange. There was a news clip, I can't remember which local news it is here in Utah, that said that the billion-dollar new private Utah prison is not getting to the prisoners. No duh. This is Reagan economics and how it's advanced and expanded since then, since the 80s. It's where the government gives corporations a huge sum of money at the taxpayer's expense, as we're $35 trillion in debt. And then, instead of trickling it down to employees and customers and products, nope, they hoard it at the top. You know, like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints hoards the money. Reagan economics. Trickle, trickle, trickle. And so, yeah, there's nothing that anybody's going to do about it. The government purposely established a private company. They paid them. They're not going to punish them. Just like Gail Miller, her private company for the shelters, not going to punish her that none of the homeless are getting homes with the multi-hundreds of millions of dollars that even the church took advantage of to launder money through the shelters. And even at the jail. There's a church news article the other week in which the church talks about going into the prison to change their behavior. You're a naughty. All right, so science with astronomy and weather, as Beryl has finally made land, and it was only a Category 1. And I was concerned that Venture Sky was pointing out a potential for a Category 5 because of the track that it showed going over the Gulf water. And nope, Venture Sky is a false prophet for this one thing. It's a computer. It's not a prophet demanding that you pay them for priestcraft and that you follow them and drink Kool-Aid and go and meet Jesus up in the clouds of glory. No. This is an attempt to try to, my goodness, to try to help people out by giving as much time in advance before a natural disaster hits. And so the reason why it only got to a Category 1 hurricane was because it was hugging the coastline. And so it died out and didn't build up enough. But once you understand that, then you can go back to the drawing board, redesign the theory, and test another theory as a result. But yeah, this was still damaging to the people in Texas. Over 1 million people are without power, last I heard. And so, remember, I'm getting the news out of the way in case you don't know. Remember January 6, 2021. Trump was trying to force Pence to decertify the election. It is the president's token role to certify the election on January 6th. He has no power to overthrow it, but Trump was ordering it. He had gotten his Sharpie out, wrote it on paper, and demanded Biden carry it out. But Pence refused to do so, especially after the riot. I mean, vacationers pooping all over the walls. Because that's what vacationers do. They go around pooping on everything. And so, Biden is being pressured after his miserable debate performance, as he's just making excuses. He's old, plain and simple. He is unable to perform his duty, as he can't do late night stuff anymore. As a president, you need to be able to do your job for the nation. If you can't, it's time to retire and let somebody else in. However, because of his debate performance, as he insisted to run for president, to have Harris be his vice president, he's threatening us to vote for him, or America will be destroyed by Trump. Now, granted, he's correct. Trump is going to destroy America. He said so. Day one, he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act, just like he tried to do in 2021. Or was it 2020? Yeah, I think in 2020. And so, yeah, there was this guy who sued the church and included the Insurrection Act, because he had tied the church to the insurrectionists that he prophesied would occur with the election. But the Mormon federal judges said no. A shout out to Random News. 13 days ago I saw that he had done a video from my videos. As it is YouTube, I freely give this information away. And so even though it's informal, there is some kind of valuable stuff that I talk about in my videos. So I have no problem if you're able to download them, stream them, and reproduce them. Just acknowledge that it's me, not you. You are not the creator of my work. I am. But as long as you properly reference, I'm fine with it. Because you need to understand, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been trying to murder me. You don't want to get caught trying to murder me by taking credit for what I'm doing. And so Biden was also contacted, reminding him about 2021 and the order to Pence to decertify the election. So what do you think they're going to do this year? In Trump's art of the deal, he confesses, I just throw out a whole bunch of stuff and I see what sticks, and then I go on to the next step. those that don't stick, I keep trying them again and again and again until they do stick. This is exactly what he's doing. And the deep state Dem libtards are not getting it. And they knew what they needed to do in 2021 when Biden took over, and they failed us. Democrats have no spine to do what it takes to save America, and yet they claim they're for the people, the demographic. Dems. It's all about power for them and maintaining power. Thus, Democrats, more so than MAGA, talk about the vote of the people in elections to determine who gets power in government. And so Biden and Harris are on a campaign threatening us to vote for them now. That if we don't vote for them, which we have no logical reason to do so, they're failing America. By their inaction all these years, they allowed MAGA to rise from the resurrected insurrection. And so Biden, being notified of what happened in 2021, is now coming out and saying, I am not leaving. And Democrats are also pushing, especially Fox. Every video, it seems like, is Fox saying, America's in danger. Biden not leaving is hurting America. Just like porn. Fox likes porn. It's the Dems who don't like porn, which is strange because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who are more MAGA than Dem, love to ban porn. Weird. But nonetheless. And so lately Biden said, I will leave it in Jesus' hands as to whether or not I stay or go. Which means if he dies, Jesus didn't want him to be president. Do you understand how catastrophic this will be? Because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with the one true Jesus of non-Trinitarian, not that Catholic Trinitarian, which is not real, in the Way to Perfection, as I've been using on a regular daily basis, for the most part. Page 290 and 291, Jesus is supposed to be given the keys of government from the United States of America's president to run the United States of America, and likewise every single government around the world. And notice they're having elections. Gotta pay attention. The Book of Mormon is true. 3rd Nephi, chapter 7. Alright. 3 pages. We'll do the Academia one first. And we'll see how I'm doing afterward as to whether I talk about YouTube Coltrane. Oh my God. I guess we can briefly touch on Coltrane and then focus on the more formal text-written stuff. So it was on my one thing all Mormons do that proves LDS Church is false, and Coltrane did it. In his comments, he did it. Good job, Coltrane. And so it's Colton Crane, according to YouTube. No picture, just a KKK in an orange circle. Just a K. You do know the land of Dixie in Utah is for the Confederates that joined the church after the Civil War. There are remember hearing the story of a guy who wore a Confederate flag, or he had there was a Confederate headband that he was wearing as a COVID mask, working at Walmart, and they asked him to replace it. And then there was a guy at an event who had a tattoo of the Nazi swastika, and they asked him to leave. If only they understood. They're your people, Mormons. They're your people. And they don't understand. They don't see Mormons as their people either. There's a division between the two of them. So those who didn't convert in southern Utah do not believe, the South still, they don't accept the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. All right. No, there's too much in here. I gotta spend a full time on this. So we'll see how much time I have left, and it looks like I will be finished after this. Another video. All right, academia. The Mormons' question was wanting to know how the Book of Mormon is Jewish, and that Jesus is not the Christian Christ. Okay? Easy breezy cover girl, maybe it's Maybelline. And then he asked another question concerning Lars Nielsen, who published a book concerning Sidney Rigdon and Solomon Spalding manuscript. So, when doing scientific research on any subject, one must assemble all the evidence together before developing a theory and concluding all the evidence. So, starting with your Book of Mormon question, one must get historical chronology correct. When were the scriptures of the Bible written? Because many of them are in the Book of Mormon. And as all Mormons are told to believe it is, another testament of Jesus Christ, the Jews on the mountain of Salem first were recorded in Thutmose III's Hittite battle in 1400 BCE. This was the Battle of Armageddon, from Revelation. Which means they lived there previously. This is a real historical event that took place. This is not scripture, but there are scripture from the Jews written much later referring to this to prophesy and reveal. So, skipping ahead. Thus, the Book of Mormon is correct in verse 4 that the Jewish religion of the Book of Mormon is Egyptian, of those who lived at Salem. And yeah, they call it Jerusalem. And it most likely was called Jerusalem at that time. That's 600, technically 597 BCE, the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah. The church doesn't want to acknowledge the scientific fact, because that would mean 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem in 597 BCE. That doesn't help with Jesus being born in 1 CE. The church does not use science. Science says something else. The Babylonians were the first to destroy Jerusalem and the temple built after the visit of Thutmose III. Solomon. translated from Paleo-Hebrew, is King of Peace, Salem. And Thutmose is transliterated as David Moses. The N on Solomon is a suffix determinative if you refer to my Paleo-Hebrew decipherment on academia. Then the Greeks took possession of the Second Temple, Jewish Second Temple, but was taken back, and is why Jews celebrate Hanukkah. And so obviously there's a whole bunch of missing information, because this is volumes of books if I were to give a complete answer to his questions. And so yeah, I fear that he's going to be asking questions of what I don't cover. But I'm hoping that this is a starting point for him. Then the Romans destroyed the Second Temple. Then Roman Emperor Constantine in 325 CE founded Christianity and replaced the Jewish scriptures of prophecy and revelation with literal history. Everybody can read for themselves, even in the Greek, the first creed of Christianity online for free. I've been going over it with you because it has to do with Joseph Smith's first vision, verse 19. Just as weather girls, weather forecasters, say YouTube, I say weather girls. Academia, I say weather forecasters. Are prophets and revelators of science. So too were the Jews of astronomy. Joseph Smith translation, Revelation 12:1. Sign in heaven in likeness of things on earth. Things on earth equals prophecy, predicting the future. Sign in heaven equals revelation, day and hour of prediction of the future. All the books of the Bible, plus others rejected, were written before Constantine. Therefore, cannot be interpreted as Christian, thus neither the Book of Mormon. Turning prophecy and revelation into literal history also creates anachronisms, placing things in the wrong chronological time period. Thus, science cannot confirm the literal history truth of the Bible or Book of Mormon. X-Fall never knows. And as a result, both Christians and the LDS Church created spiritualism to bypass scientific truth. So now one needs to learn the Jewish religion in order to correctly interpret the Book of Mormon. Authority, administration, succession, the concept of Christ. Doctrine, theology, scriptural interpretation, ritual. So to cut it short, to explain Jesus, in Matthew chapter 1, he tells us that Jesus is a literal seed descendant of King David. But the list ends with Joseph, the father-in-law. Then a messenger, Hebrew Malachi, tells Joseph in a dream that Mary is carrying the Christ. Quotes a prophecy, but doesn't name the prophet, which we all know is Isaiah. Hebrew, salvation of Yah, the Hebrew God. But instead of naming him Emmanuel, the angel and Joseph name him Jesus. Hebrew, Yah of salvation. Matthew keeps saying, "Thus saith the prophet." Matthew is telling a story version prophecy of textual prophecy of Isaiah. This is exactly what the Book of Mormon is doing, as predicting the future and giving the day and hour of the prophecies. And so, what is one of the major plagiarisms in the Book of Mormon? Isaiah. We are told it's Emmanuel that is to be his name, but they leave out, which is interpreted, God with us. Thus, the Book of Mormon is trying to tell Mormons some dumbass added that in Matthew. Okay? Thus, 1 Nephi chapter 1 equals Revelation 12, 1, 2, and 5. Joseph Smith translation, Revelation 12, 1 to 3. Notice the pattern match with Joseph Smith's 1838 second vision. Those of you who have been following me already recognize a lot of this stuff. I'm just being more formal than informal. 1 Nephi chapter 11. A dream story fulfillment of the coming of the Christ. 2 Nephi 3. Jewish Messiah ben Joseph and Jewish Messiah ben David. Ben, son of Joseph, is prophesied to precede and prepare for the coming of Ben David as literal seed persons. We all know Joseph Smith Jr. is 2 Nephi chapter 3. He's preparing the way for the latter day coming of Messiah ben David. Not Jesus of the Roman period, who failed and is getting a second chance under Christian interpretation. They have to maintain their faith bubbles, because he never showed. The Jewish Christ showed. Both of them. Joseph Smith Jr. showed. And the wild one, Messiah ben David, showed. On time. He was waiting for the priests of Baal to show, to get their God to light up the altar. They never showed, but he was there. He humiliated them after being attacked by YouTube this year because they did not want me to do videos during conference. Notice Doctrine and Covenants, section 85, verse 7, and section 103, verse 16, both coming from the Jewish law. Deuteronomy 18, 15 through 19. And notice Joseph Smith History, verse 40. 3 Nephi 11 equals Revelation 19, 11 and 17. They didn't show. Precise day and hours, and Jesus was a no-show. I showed. The Egyptian tie picture, the PNG, that was me at the Temple of Bountiful. I showed. Jesus didn't. Every Jewish author must prophesy in text or story of Deuteronomy's man like Moses. Thus, as one example, Samson, Hebrew, Sun King, as Emmanuel, Hebrew, Sun God, at noonday. The deaths that occur in the stories of Samson are solar eclipses, giving us the day and hours of when they will fulfill the prophecies of the stories. And so I've been trying to go over that with you. I'm giving you pictures, because some people are illiterate, and so I'm hoping pictures will help you. See, I'm a good guy. And then you don't watch the pictures. You don't read them text on pictures. No. But yeah, the Lion House next to the Beehive House with the Temple of the Philistines. The wedding supper feast of the Lamb. And yes, in the Great and Abominable Church. Because as I did the video the other day and redid it, insurrection, resurrection, from the same word. And so from insurrection comes a resurrection of what has been insurrected. And so I then go on to Lars. Should have had another water with me. Lars is trying to hastily conclude to harm the church after he learned tithing is a criminal sham. He left out numerous evidence, and even though his premise has merit, his conclusion is wrong. So yes, Sidney is the major author of the Book of Mormon. But I'm the one who discovered Joseph Smith Sr. had to rewrite the 116 pages, leaving a clue with the book claimed to be by William Morgan. 116 pages. Notice the book is exactly 116 written pages. Doesn't count the covers, doesn't count the blank pages. Remove those and you get 116 written pages. That's the original. Not really, he's trying to give you a clue. Obviously, there's more I need to explain on this part of historical origins, like 9/11, 1826 in Canandaigua, New York, where Senior was the Master Mason. Thus, it only goes up to Master Mason, 116 pages. Thus why he was responsible for making sure the Book of Mormon got published. And so, yes, ex-foes, you are correct. Mormon, Morgan, Monroe combined together. Good job. But you concluded wrong. But I hope this is a good place to stop. Amen. Alrighty, so yeah, Coltrane is another video. I'm dying here.